cool would it be to take a friend to UFC 300? You guys get to hang out with Jocko and then go hang out with Bo Nickel at his post-fight party. Because Jocko Fuel is giving you a chance to do just that. 2 tickets, airfare, and accommodations paid for. Plus, you'll get a VIP escort from Jocko Fuel to show you around Vegas. All you have to do to enter is go to jockofuel.com, make a purchase, or just click on the link below. I will never stop taking an evil pleasure in teasing a fighter that says he will only fight people ranked in front of him. Like, I'll never get tired of blurting out that rankings don't matter. That will never be something that I'll stop doing. And I read the comment section, and for the most part, you guys are not on my side. You think the rankings do matter. And I have to hear it all the time. And the reason that I love the concept and the notion that they don't matter, which I know is a broad stroke, like that is not absolutely literal, but the reason that I like it and I go back to it time and time again is if we were to take that logic in that statement and make it an absolute, nobody could ever fight anybody. But if the number 5 guy says, I've carried enough water around here and I'm not going to fight anybody unless they're in front of me, if we take that as an absolute, then the person that ranked number 2 could not fight the guy that made the statement who's number 5, because the person number 2 is not fighting somebody in front of him. He's going to have to go backwards. One of the 2 is going to have to go backwards. So the statement in and of itself is not an absolute, which is why it's a flawed statement. And I will hear it as it pertains to championships. I want to get to the title. I want to do something that gets me closer to the title. And it just represents a colossal misunderstanding of the sport. And this is not a conversation of is it better or worse. It's a conversation of the reality of what it is. We do not have within combat a competitive architecture. It does not matter how good you are, how handsome you are, how many touchdowns you've thrown, how much your mother loved you, what you were drafted, what college you went to. You do not then get to be in the Super Bowl. There is a competitive architecture where you must be on a team. You must make it to the playoffs. You must make sure that that team has more points than the other guys when time runs out, and you'll move to the next round of the playoffs. So on and so forth till you're down to 2. I mean, I don't condescend to you. I'm just sharing most sports have a competitive architecture. Ours doesn't. So there is no fight that you can't have. There is nothing that you have to do to go and get to fight. You need to be known. You got to have the mandate of the masses. You got to have the people on your side. Now that is a game and a sport that so many have never attempted to play. And I'm bringing all of this to talk to you about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. I'm fascinated by the concept. The concept really is very interesting. I mean, here you've got Jake Paul, who is more of a face and more known in boxing than kids that started at 7 years old. Came through Brooklyn, won the Golden Gloves, won the New York States. I mean, those were big deals in boxing. Went through the Olympic process, possibly even made an Olympic team and represented the country. Jake Paul is more known as a boxer than they are. The average sports fan, if you held up a photo of any member of the 2021 United States Olympic boxing team, any member, and a photo of Jake Paul, the average fan is more likely to identify Paul than any member of the Olympic team. And while perhaps I'm stating the obvious for you, I still take joy in it because I still have to hear from guys all of the time about the rankings and how much they matter and what you're going to do with them. Dustin Poirier 2 weeks ago beat the number 13 ranked guy. Now, oddly enough, Dustin, who was ranked number 3, was a 2.5 to 1 underdog to number 13. But either way, Dustin was not in talks to fight for a championship. He was not on the short list that was going to go into the war room on a Tuesday at 9 a.m. and have Dana and Hunter and Mick and Sean talking about him. But now, not only is he on that short list, he is the champion himself, Islam, and the champion's manager, Ali, talking about him. How? If rankings are so important, how can Dustin beat number 13, and now there's a suggestion that he goes and fights for the belt? How? It's relevant that you understand that. How can Francis Ngannou, who has never boxed, he's never had a glove on, he's never stepped in the ring, fight for the world championship? And the answer is not complex, and it's not money, and it's not a geographic location. The answer ultimately comes down to there is no competitive architecture to stop him. So when you've got Jake Paul, who's getting ready to take on Mike Tyson, one thing that these guys are going to have is a why. Why are they fighting? What is this about? We understand it's a cash grab. We understand that. But Mike Tyson has turned down bigger cash. So that's not only it. Now, I don't have the answer to that. That's a part of the story they need to tell. But they need to, as they're telling it, say it's not just about the money. Of course it's about the money. When they're saying it's not about the money, they need to back that up with something. And Mike does have something to back that up with, which is he's turned down bigger paydays. I personally don't know why he accepted the fight with Paul. But there's a reason, and I would love to know what it is. I would love to know what about that got him off the couch. Not to mention he doesn't have a ton of time. And the embarrassment that a great like Mike Tyson would suffer if he was to lose to a guy with limited experience. I can stop you right there. Doesn't have to be Jake Paul. Just with limited experience. I can stop you right there. That would be very damaging to Mike. The embarrassment and the fall that Mike would suffer if he fought and lost to a guy from 3 weight classes below him. I don't have to say Paul. It could be any random person. If they're from 3 weight classes below heavy where Mike contests, that would be a massive blow. And he's willing to take that on ×2. And I'm just curious why. And it's not just about the money. There's some other reason. And I want them to tell it. I want them to do a good job, and I want them to come out and tell it. But I know that Jake Paul wants to get to Canelo. He has not made that a secret. And if Jake Paul can do a good enough job of smearing Mike's face in it. Now, to do that, he's going to have to be extremely hated. He's going to have to be hated by the boxing community, the very community that he has set this stage of his life on hold to appease, to accommodate, to work with, to entertain, to be part of. So I don't know that he is going to take that approach, but I'm just sharing with you, if Jake made this a standpoint of I own boxing, I just showed boxing, I stuck it to boxing, there would be the door for Canelo to walk in and say, no, you didn't. I am now going to come out and I am going to save boxing. And before you tell me whether you like that storyline or not, I have at least convinced you, and you are not disagreeing with me that it's possible. And as soon as I get you to do that, which you've already done, you just did it. As soon as I get you to do what you just did, you can never go against me again when I tell you the rankings don't matter. The same way as Francis on day 1 can fight for the world title, the same way that Poirier can beat number 13 and it qualifies him to move north instead of staying flat. The same way that you understand that if Jake Paul was to beat Mike Tyson, who is ranked nothing, at heavyweight, where this will officially be contested, you could see where a win at heavyweight would qualify Jake for a title again. I don't even know what weight Canelo fights at, do you? I don't know what they call that weight. And anywhere else in the world, whatever that weight is, the guys that are around that weight think they're the only ones that could test for it. They're the only ones that are even eligible. And it's just a fun thing to understand about our industry. Our industry is so misunderstood, but it's misunderstood by those who operate within the industry, by the actual fighters themselves that will come out and say, I'm not going to fight anybody ranked behind me. Okay, great, but we can't take that to both sides. If we can't take it to both sides, then it's not true. an interesting spot. It's small, it's minor, but what is this fight about? That's their biggest task right now. It is not getting in the gym and hitting the mitts and eventually sparring and jump roping and then make sure you get in the ice bath with a massage followed up so you can come do it tomorrow. It's not. It's about telling the people why you're fighting. I'm not sure that they know. I'm not positive they have an answer. But Mike has turned down bigger paydays, and he didn't turn this one down. And he doesn't have a lot of time to prepare. There's something about it that got him to say yes. It's incumbent that we find out what that is.